You are standing in a chamber that has not yet gone to sleep. The hour is late, though the palace does not measure time the way ordinary houses do. Here, even the night carries awareness. Candlelight moves slowly along carved oak walls, breathing softly with each small draught. Somewhere beyond the stone, the Thames slides past in the dark, steady and indifferent. Its sound faint, but constant, like a thought that never quite leaves the mind. You are not alone. Elizabeth is here, not in ceremony, not in spectacle, but in stillness. She sits beneath the weight of her own crown, though it rests nowhere near her head. Papers lie before her, tallies, records, seals pressed into wax, quiet objects that carry the memory of obedience. The machinery of rule has paused, but it has not gone silent. It waits. This is England at rest, and yet never truly resting. You begin to understand something subtle as you breathe more slowly, as your body settles into the rhythm of the narration. Elizabeth I does not rule through noise or spectacle alone. She rules through continuity, through presence, through a system that remembers even when the ruler grows tired. Her court, often imagined as dazzling and theatrical, reveals another face at night. When the laughter fades, when the silks are folded away, what remains is procedure, ink, memory, the quiet enforcement of order. Elizabeth does not need to raise her voice here. The system already listens. You move gently, almost without sound, through this space of power made calm. You notice how everything is arranged, not for beauty alone, but for endurance. Nothing here is impulsive. Everything has been designed to outlast emotion, to function even when the human heart hesitates. This is how her authority breathes, not through constant command, but through a shared understanding that the realm continues because it must. Elizabeth's genius was never simply in charisma or intelligence. It lay in her understanding of permanence. She knew that power does not survive by force alone. It survives when it becomes routine, when obedience feels rational, when order feels inevitable. As you stand beside her, you realize something important. The crown does not rest on her head. It rests on the system she has allowed to grow around her. The exchequer tallies do not sleep. The courts do not forget. The seals still carry weight, even in darkness. Elizabeth's England functions because it has been trained to remember itself. This is not a kingdom that depends on constant vigilance from its queen. It is a kingdom designed to move forward even in her absence, a legacy quietly taking shape long before her death. And perhaps this is what she is considering now, in this late hour. Not conquest, not marriage, but continuity. You sense her awareness drifting beyond the present moment, beyond her own lifetime. The question that presses gently against the silence is not whether she rules well, but whether the structure she leaves behind will endure when she is no longer there to be obeyed. Power, in this room, feels less like dominance and more like gravity. It pulls without shouting. You feel it too, the way history settles into the body when spoken softly enough. Your breathing slows, the edges of the world soften. Thought becomes less sharp, more fluid. Elizabeth remains still, but the realm moves around her, carried by habits, rituals, and expectations she has carefully shaped. Even succession, that most dangerous uncertainty, has been absorbed into the machinery. The system anticipates the future, preparing for a ruler who has not yet been named. Nothing here panics, nothing rushes. England waits calmly, methodically, because it has learned how. And as the candle flame trembles once, then steadies again, you begin to sense that this quiet night is not empty at all. It is full of unseen motion, full of systems turning gently in the dark. In the next moment, your attention will drift deeper, away from the chamber, and into the unseen architecture of the Tudor court itself, where loyalty, obedience, and fear are woven so seamlessly into daily life that they feel almost like sleep. And that is where the story will carry you next. In the shadowed chambers of Hatfield House, councillors swear fealty to the new queen. Elizabeth I, ink still drying on her first proclamations, directs William Cecil to audit the realm's ledgers. This procedural command initiates the pillar of law, where royal will binds through statute and precedent. Law governs first. Common law, evolved under her father's breaks with Rome, enforces continuity. Elizabeth summons Parliament in January 1559. The Act of Supremacy passes, declaring her supreme governor of the Church of England. No burnings follow. Penalties calibrate to fines and oaths. Obedience flows rational, documented in rolls at Westminster. Courts activate. Star Chamber handles noble disputes. Assizes circuit shires. Judges, appointed by writ, interpret precedents from Edward III onward. This system converts personal loyalty into impersonal order. Before the next session, Cecil drafts bills to curb enclosures, protecting yeomen's tenures. The Queen reviews inheritance claims. Mary's French alliances drained coffers. Law now redirects customs duties to crown control. Procedural reviews of monopolies begin, ensuring legitimacy persists through equitable enforcement. This decision will return later in economic pillars. Council meetings proceed daily. Elizabeth listens, her hands steady on the scepter replica. Bureaucracy emerges next as pillar. Cecil's principal secretary office expands. Clerks copy dispatches in ciphered ledgers. The signet office seals private warrants, while the Privy Seal authenticates policy. Records multiply. Annual audits of the Exchequer tally wool exports. Primary revenue. Messengers relay shire reports on harvests and unrest. This network remembers every petition, filing them in Tower archives. Rational obedience stems from visibility subjects see their grievances logged. By spring 1559, progresses commence. Elizabeth rides north to East Anglia, inspecting manors. Local justices present books. She notes variances. Bureaucracy administers through presence, not force. Unseen labor supports this. Yeomen of the guard maintain roads, their duties rotational by custom. Marriage proposals accumulate. Philip II of Spain sends envoys. Elizabeth demurs, citing realm's needs. Intimacy forms the third pillar. Virginity pledges her body to England, avoiding foreign entanglements that fractured Mary's reign. Suitors like Robert Dudley test this calculus, their access courtly documented, court rituals encoded. Dancers at Whitehall limit proximity, ladies-in-waiting chaperone. This procedural distance sustains legitimacy. No heir divides factions. The system remembers Anne Boleyn's fall through rushed unions. Elizabeth translates Boethius, framing rule as stoic duty unbound by wedlock. Economy stirs beneath. Wall staples at Calais, lost in 1558, force recalibration. Cecil imposes a book of rates, standardizing tariffs. Merchants petition. Responses issue via letters patent. Revenue funds, navy repairs at Portsmouth. Procedural steps from audit to allocation. Every quarter, the system tallies. Fear administers quietly here. Informers report smuggling, but prosecutions follow due process. Spectacle prepares, progresses, display bounty, reinforcing rational allegiance. Religion interlinks, but waits. The 1559 Act of Uniformity mandates prayer book use, calibrated moderation. Council debates escalate measuredly. Dudley whispers of plots. Elizabeth orders surveillance logs. Law and bureaucracy entwine, converting whispers to warrants. This unfolding order promises continuity. By summer, progresses reach Bristol. Crowds acclaim without tumult. The pillars align. Marriage's denial stabilizes alliances. Economies, audits, fund laws, enforcement. In the summer of 1559, Elizabeth processes westward through Kenilworth Castle, her retinue filing orders for provisions along the route. Council reports confirm the Act of Uniformity takes hold in parishes. Priests conform under documented oaths. These pillars of law and bureaucracy now underpin economy as the fourth procedural foundation. Economy activates through ledgers. Wool, England's staple, generates customs at £50,000 yearly under Cecil's rates. The Queen reviews exchequer tallies. Mary's French losses halved revenues, yet parliamentary subsidies restore flow. Merchants receive letters patent for trades. Monopolies grant limited durations, audited quarterly to prevent abuse. Harbours at London and Bristol dispatch returns. Navy commissioners repair galleons at Deptford, funded by precise allocations. Yeoman farmers tithe grains. Enclosures proceed under legal oversight, balancing gentry wealth with labour stability. This system converts scarcity into continuity, obedience rationalised by shared prosperity. Before winter stores, Cecil drafts, coinage, reforms. Debased silver from Henry's wars recedes. New portraits of the Queen stamp milled shillings. Economy remembers debasements, inflation prices halved under steady minting. Procedural tariffs on wine imports sustain court without excess taxation. Religion emerges as fifth pillar, calibrated post-supremacy. The 1559 settlement blends rights. Bishops like Parker enforce the prayer book, vestments optional to ease recusants. Elizabeth attends chapel at Whitehall, her presence a ritual cue. No inquisitions. Fines collect for non-attendance, funding poor relief. Parish registers log baptisms, marriages, burials state eyes, souls through bureaucracy. Jesuits whisper abroad, but ports log travellers' confessions. This interlinks with law. Treason Acts targets seminary priests. Trials procedural in Star Chamber. Obedience flows from visible moderation, not pyres. Progresses inspect dioceses. At Coventry, Elizabeth hears sermons. Variances noted for correction. Religion administers as network. Vicars reporting to archdeacons, upward to council. The system remembers Mary's 300 burnings. Versal through restraint preserves legitimacy. Unseen labour forms sixth pillar. Slavery's shadow in Tudor terms. Bondman dwindle, yet villain services persist in manorial courts. Irish kern and Scottish border reivers supply levies. Convicts rope galleys under naval press. Women spin wool in cottages, their output tallied in cloth halls. Colonial ventures stir. Humphrey Gilbert petitions for Newfoundland fisheries. Labour drawn from vagrants under poor laws. Procedural contracts bind apprentices. Workhouses emerge for idle hands. This labour sustains economy, rationalised as duty to crown and kin. Fear administers seventh, not as terror but surveillance. Informers like Francis Walsingham file reports from Ale. Plots Ridolfi in 1571, but seeds in 1559 trigger commissions of inquiry. Warrants issue, interrogations, log confessions. Fear proceduralizes loyalty, precluding rebellion through early detection. Every moon, dispatches arrive ciphered. Elizabeth reviews at Greenwich, her annotations precise. Spectacle governs eighth. Masks at court display divine right. Poets like Spenser encode obedience in verse. Progresses through shires acclaim the Queen's person as realm's anchor. These pillars entwined without haste. Economy funds, religions, parishes. Labour props, fears, eyes. In the autumn of 1560, at Windsor Castle, Elizabeth signs warrants for the northern progressors, her council confirming grain tallies from recent harvests. Labour networks hum beneath, yeoman thresh fields under manorial rolls, their yields dispatched to London markets by chartered barges. Spectacle now rises as the eighth pillar, governance through visible order. Spectacle administers continuity. Progresses traverse shires, provisioning ordered months ahead, oxen roasted, tents erected by local justices. Crowds line routes, acclamations logged in, pursuivants reports. Elizabeth's barge glides Thameside, musicians play. This display binds subjects visually to the crown's endurance. Court masks encode legitimacy. At Whitehall, poets stage triumphs. Elizabeth as Astrea, golden age restored. No conquests, Boasted procedural pageants recalled Tudor lineage from Henry VII's ordered succession. The system remembers. Mary's sombre processions yielded to this calculated radiance. By 1561, northern circuits inspect borders. At York, Scottish envoys witness splendour. Mary's flight south underscores English stability. Spectacle interlinks economy hosts compete in hospitality. Their ledgers audited later for reimbursements. Obedience rationalizes as participation in ritual. Fear solidifies as ninth pillar, woven into prior threads. Walsingham's precursors note seminary leaks from Douay. Port's seal manifests. The 1563 Commission probes polls, remnants, interrogations yielding affidavits. Trials proceed in King's Bench. Sentences commuted to house arrest for nobles. Informers embed in households. A tailor reports Catholic masses. Fines follow via ecclesiastical courts. Fear proceduralizes. No mass executions, but bonds extract promises of conformity. Elizabeth reviews night dispatches, her marginalia directing inquiries. This vigilance sustains law's precedence. Winter councils at Hampton Court tally threats. Ridolfi whispers unborn, yet patterns emerge. Spanish gold trails noted in customs logs. Fear administers through redundancy. Double agents file duplicates, cross-verified in cipher rooms. Rational subjects self-report, trading whispers for pardons. Unseen labor props this. Convict rowers man, watch ships. Vagrant presses fill militia, rolls under statute. Religion reinforces. Parish constables log strangers, upward to justices. Economy funds it tariffs, equip informants, horses. Bureaucracy files every deposition. Marriage recurs, intimacies, calculus unyielding. Archduke Charles proposes. Elizabeth's counters demand residency, rebuffed. Dudley elevated to earl, yet distanced by protocol. Virginity proceduralizes realm as spouse. Heirs deferred to avert civil strife like wars of roses. By 1565, progresses east to Norwich, weave spectacle anew. Weavers present cloths, Queen Knights merchants, charters extend. Fear's eyes watch crowds, reports nil unrest. Pillars converge. Law enforces labor's output, funding religion's moderation. This alignment promises endurance. System exhaustion stirs distantly revenues, strain from progressive scale. In the spring of 1569, at Kenilworth Castle, Elizabeth receives petitions from northern earls. Their seals affixed to vellum rolls, detailing grievances over border wardens. Council clerks catalogue these under precedent law, cross-referencing exchequer debts from progressors. System exhaustion now surfaces as the ninth pillar. Administrative strain revealing governance's limits. Exhaustion manifests procedurally. Revenues peak at £250,000 annually from customs and subsidies. Yet progresses cost £40,000 per circuit, audited in Cecil's ledgers. Navy repairs at Chatham outpace tariffs. Irish garrisons drain wool profits. Yeoman enclosures spark petitions. Justices balancing custom against gentry claims. Parliament convenes in 1571. Bills pass for poor relief. Workhouses funded by parish rates labour, redirected from vagrancy. Yet recusancy finds yield inconsistently. Douay priests infiltrate, logged in port books. Economy strains under debasement echoes. Coin clips prosecuted in pipe-powder courts. Fear intensifies calibration. Northern rebellion erupts Spursy, and Northumberland rally Catholics. Proclaiming Mary Stuart, forces muster under Sussex. Procedural levies from Shire militias. Rebels submit by February 1570. Executions follow attainder acts, lands are ceded to crown. Trials proceed at York. Affidavits read, confessions notarized. Elizabeth commutes some to exile, preserving noble lines for future oaths. The system remembers pardons filed as precedents, deterring copycats. Informers rewarded via privy purse, their networks expanding. Religion fatigues parishes. Uniformity oaths lapse in remoter seas. Bishops like Grindal petition for discipline. Elizabeth suspends him in 1577, favouring procedural conformity over Puritan zeal. Spectacle counters, Accession Day tilts at Whitehall, knights joust in scripted valour, marriage proposals recur, exhaustion's test. French Duke de Lancan visits 1579, his suit documented in treaty drafts, residency clauses unmet. Virginity holds. Council debates heirs, deferring to legitimacy's calculus. Dudley weds covertly, scandal logged but contained. Bureaucracy bloats, Cecil knighted Baron Burleigh, his office spawning subcommissions for trade. Tower records swell with depositions. Cipher clerks fatigue under Ridolfi plot dispatches. Unseen labour presses sailors' impressment warrants issue. Galleys rowed by convicts. By 1575, progresses scale back slightly, hosts reimbursed via bonds. Economy pivots. Muscovy Company charters extend to Persia. Silks offsetting wool dips. Law enforces patents. Monopolies audited to curb inflation, whispers. Fear administers bonds from rebels' kin. Every audit cycle, tallies reveal where revenues suffice, but margins narrow. Irish wars loom. Spanish tensions sight, but spectacle persists. Portraits by Hilliard circulate. Queen's image procedural icon. Pillars strain predictably. Obedience sustained by visible endurance. Downfall approaches quietly through procedural erosion. In the shadowed, long gallery of Whitehall Palace, winter 1580, Elizabeth pores over ciphered dispatches from the Low Countries, her council noting debits from Leicester's expeditionary forces. Revenues from 1570's subsidies erode under compounded interest. Auditors tally £100,000 deficits against wool customs. Downfall initiates as 10th pillar, procedural erosion quieting the system's pulse. Downfall proceeds administratively. Ridolfi and Throckmorton plots resolved via commissions, yet Babington conspiracy brews in 1586 letters intercepted, their codes unravelled by Philippe's. Trials convene at Farringdon, affidavits chaining Mary Stuart to treason acts. Elizabeth hesitates 6 months, her Privy Seal withholding warrant until Parliament petitions execution on February 8, 1587. Mary's head falls at Fothering, documented in Herald's rolls. Spanish envoys protest via bureaucracy. Responses drafted in triplicate. Fear peaks procedurally. Port manifests double-checked. Jesuits expelled under proclamation. Obedience rationalizes as survival subjects witness continuity over regicide spectre. Irish pillars fatigue. Desmond forfeitures in 1583 yield Munster plantations. Labour presses Devon yeomen across St. George's Channel. Economy strains. Crown leases to undertakers audited, yet rebellions recur under Tyrone. Levies draining exchequer reserves. Law dispatches commissions. Precedents from York Assizes applied. Religion splinters predictably. Puritan classes petition Cartwright. Elizabethan forces via High Commission. Grindal's successor, Whitgift fining conventicles. Recusancy, bonds collect £1,000 monthly, funding coastal watchers. Spectacle counters, Tilney masks, depict Armada, defeat unborn, scripted triumphs over peril. Marriage's calculus exhausts suitors. Anjou dies 1584. No heirs issue from virginity's pledge. Council logs succession debate Stuart. Claims noted, yet procedural ambiguity deters factions. Bureaucracy files genealogies. Law defers via statutes of legitimacy. Unseen labour creaks. Impressment riots at Plymouth, 1585. Statutes mandate musters. Convicts filling gaps. Economy pivots to privateers Drake's raids, licensed by letters mark. Prizes adjudicated in admiralty courts. Revenues spike temporarily, audited against war bonds. By 1588, Armada assembles Spanish intelligence, logged via merchants at Bilbao. English beacons, Chainshires. Militia roles activate under lieutenants. Fireships scatter fleet at Calais. Procedural navy pursues. Losses minimal. Spectacle narrates. Medals struck. Commemorative sermons mandated. Fear administers victory's echo. Trials of priests accelerate. Seminary routes mapped in Walsingham's chambers. System exhaustion deepens plague, closes, progresses. Revenues plateau at £300,000 amid debasement pressures. Law passes poor laws 1598. Workhouses proceduralizing, vagrants. Every council session, ledgers worn. Pillars converge in strain. Economy funds fear's eyes. Religion props, laws, oaths. Downfall quiets. Not collapses obedience, endures through ritual memory. Aftermath awaits. Systems outliving the Queen's frame. In the frost-laced chambers of Richmond Palace, autumn 1590, Elizabeth reviews exchequer tallies from the Armada's aftermath. Her clerks noting persistent deficits, despite prize monies from Drake's captures. Irish levies, under Essex, drain £40,000 quarterly. Wool exports stagnate under continental embargoes. Aftermath emerges as systems outliving the ruler. Procedural endurance beyond one life. Aftermath unfolds administratively. Law persists. High commissions prosecute monopolies. 1601 Parliament curbing abuses, Burleigh once licensed. Common law roles accumulate precedent-side chamber. Judgments on enclosures bind successors. Obedience rationalizes through continuity. Justices ride circuits. Oaths renewed without royal presence. Bureaucracy endures. Robert Cecil inherits father's ledgers, cipher rooms, logging Jesuit routes into James VI's court. Signet seals issue under Privy Council. Tower archives swell with depositions, accessible by warrant. This network remembers every petition, sustaining governance, sans the Queen's hand. Economy recalibrates predictably. Poor Law of 1598 mandates parish overseers. Workhouses house vagrants, funded by rates on landholders. East India Company charters in 1600 extend trade, silks and spices, offsetting Calais wool losses. Revenues stabilize at £300,000, audited against war bonds, redeemed gradually. Religion holds via settlements frame. With gifts successors enforce subscription. Recusancy fines flow to exchequer, £20,000 yearly by 1600. Parish registers track conformity upward to metropolitical visitations. The system remembers burnings, reversal moderation proceduralizes souls, outlasting Elizabeth's chapel attendance. Unseen labour props onward. Impressment statutes renew for navy. Apprenticeships bind paupers under guild rolls. Irish plantations expand. Undertakers' leases filed in Dublin. Yeomen shipped as tenants. Rational duty converts idleness to output. Economy's base unyielding. Fear administers legacy. Essex Rebellion 1601 triggers procedural trials. Affidavits chain him to treason. Execution at Tower Hill documented by heralds. Informers rewarded via bonds. Networks pivot to Scottish borders, eyeing James's claims. Surveillance logs preclude chaos. Obedience self-perpetuating. Marriage's pillar fades symbolically. Virginity's pledge, logged in diplomatic refusals, deters factional brides. No divided heirs fracture the line. Council genealogies, note, Arbella Stewart, yet law defers ambiguity, awaiting procedural succession. Spectacle lingers in accession day tilts, scripted pageants at Whitehall encoding Tudor radiance. Portraits circulate Hilliards, miniatures, cigars, full-length screen as icon, detached from aging frame. Progresses scale back, but acclamations echo in Shire reports. By 1602, progresses to Chiswick inspect model farms. Hosts present ledgers, reimbursements audited. Pillars converge enduringly. Economy funds, religion's fines, labour props, fear's eyes, law binds all. Every audit warns of strain, yet systems adapt, outliving the body they served. Universal warning crystallizes. Governance endures, not by will, but procedure obedience rational. Collapse forestalled by ritual memory. In the dim-lit privy chamber of Richmond Palace, March 1603, Elizabeth stands by her oriel window, gazing at the frost-dried Thames as councillors present the latest exchequer rolls. Robert Cecil notes, Irish war costs exceeding £200,000 yearly. Monopolies curbed by parliamentary statute, yet straining merchant petitions. Universal warning solidifies. Governance survives not through singular will, but through procedural chains that outlast flesh, demanding rational obedience to avert collapse. This warning embeds in every pillar's fatigue. Law endures as a mutable scaffold common law precedents from her 45-year reign-bind Star Chamber successors. Enclosures litigated under 1598 statutes, justices oath-bound to impartial roles. No monarch alters this without parliamentary writs. Obedience rationalizes as inheritance, collapse forestalled by documented continuity. Bureaucracy perpetuates autonomously. Cecil's ciphered archives transfer to Privy Council. Signet office seals, routine warrants, Tower records indexing 40 years of depositions for precedent. Clerks rotate by custom, their ledgers ensuring petitions receive procedural reply. Systems immune to one ruler's decline. Economy warns through cycles. Poor laws mandate overseers parish by parish. East India voyages log spices against wool deficits. Revenues hovering at £280,000 amid debasement echoes. Monopolies dissolve under 1601 Acts. Trade freed via letters patent rational self-interest props the base. Exhaustion predictable yet contained. Religion's settlement calcifies. With gifts, subscriptions enforce prayer book uniformity. Fines from 5,000 recusants fund coastal beacons. Parish logs tracking baptisms as state inventory. The system remembers pyres, and reversal's moderation proceduralizes faith, outliving the Queen's symbolic attendance. Unseen labour cautions idleness. Impressment renews for Navy under lieutenants' musters. Guild apprenticeships bind vagrants. Irish plantations filing tenant rolls in Dublin Castle. Duty converts chaos to output. Economy's unseen spine warning against neglect collapse via starved galleys or barren fields. Fear administers eternal vigilance. Essex's 1601 attainder sets treason templates. Informers' networks pivot to Scottish succession whispers, bonds extracting loyalty oaths. Procedural trials preclude uprisings, obedience self-reinforcing as subjects log their own conformity to evade warrants. Marriage's denial echoes as safeguard. Virginity's pledge, documented in 30 years of diplomatic refusals, averts wars of roses, fractures no heirs, marriage divides factions. Council genealogies defer to James VI via procedural ambiguity, legitimacy passing intact. Spectacle immortalizes procedure. Accession Day tilts, script eternal triumphs. Hilliard's portraits circulate as icons. Progresses acclamations filed in Shire reports. Visible order binds visually, warning that forgotten rituals invite disloyalty. By Easter 1603, Elizabeth weakens, physicians logging symptoms in privy rolls. Council assembles. James proclaimed April 24th at Charterhouse. Procedural without tumult. Pillars converge unyielding. Law oaths him, bureaucracy transfers seals. Economy tallies transitions. Systems persist, the Queen's frame incidental. In the hushed antechamber of Richmond Palace, March 24th, 1603, physicians record Elizabeth's refusal of sustenance, her council noting the Privy Seal's final warrants on Irish garrisons. Robert Cecil dispatches riders to Scottish borders, their manifests pre-logged for James VI's approach. Aftermath deepens. Systems persist beyond the ruler, procedural chains transferring legitimacy without fracture. Law binds the transition seamlessly. Common law precedents, 45 years of Star Chamber rolls on enclosures, monopolies, and treasons await James's justices. Oaths administered at Westminster without alteration. Parliamentary statutes, like the 1559 Supremacy, endure verbatim. Obedience rationalizes as unbroken precedent, collapse averted by immutable roles. Bureaucracy executes handover. Tower archives, swollen with depositions from Ridolfi to Essex, index under Cecil's direction. Signet office seals proclamations, naming James I on April 24th at Charterhouse Fields. Crowds acclaiming per shire musters. Clerks rotate seamlessly. Petitions rerouted without lapse, governance detached from the Queen's fading pulse. Economy tallies continuity. Exchequer ledgers close at £280,000 revenues. Poor law overseers funded parish by parish amid 1603 plague closures. East India cargoes dock at London. Spices audited against wall tariffs. Monopolies curbs persist under 1601 Acts. Rational trade self-sustaining beyond Tudor frames. Religion proceduralizes souls onward. Whitgifts, subscriptions, log conformity in 10,000 parishes. Recusancy fines, £20,000 yearly, redirect to beacon watchers. Prayer book mandates hold. Metropolitical visitations filing variances. Reversal of pious outlives Elizabeth's chapel rituals, binding faith to state inventory. Unseen labour props the realm unyielding. Impressment statutes muster navy crews at Portsmouth. Guild rolls bind apprentices. Irish plantations extending tenant leases in Dublin. Vagrants enter workhouses under 1598 poor laws. Output converting idleness to grain economies. Base warns against neglect, enduring procedurally. Fear administers quiet pivot. Informers, networks, honed on Babington's ciphers, monitor succession, whispers. Essex attainders, template future trials. Bonds extract oaths from Catholic gentry. Logged in high commissions, vigilance self-perpetuates. Obedience rational as filed conformity, averting warrants. Marriage's pillar dissolves, symbolically intact. Virginity's pledge, chronicled in diplomatic refusals from Philip II to Anjou. Safeguards lineage, no factional heirs splinter the realm. Genealogical rolls defer to James via 1544 Legitimacy Acts. Procedural ambiguity yielding peaceful union of crowns. Spectacle encodes eternity. Accession day tilts, script James's triumphs. Portraits by Mytons supplant Hilliards. Progresses acclamations, filed eternally in council reports. Visible rituals bind subjects visually. Systems immortalizing order over one life's span. James enters London, May 1603. Council presenting ledgers at the Tower. Pillars converge, autonomous law odes him. Economy funds transitions, religion logs his kirk. Elizabeth interred at Westminster, April 28th. Heralds documenting procession body, incidental, governance, eternal. In the echoing vaults of Westminster Abbey, April 28th, 1603. Heralds process Elizabeth's coffin past effigies of her forebears. Council clerks logging the route's costs against final exchequer tallies. James I receives the Great Seal at the Tower, his Privy Council affirming oaths per unbroken precedents. Universal warning culminates. Governance endures through procedural chains alone. Rational obedience, its sole sustenance. Collapse inevitable where rituals falter. This warning permeates every pillar's legacy. Law stands eternal star chamber, rolls from 1558. Enclosures to 1601, monopolies bind James's justices verbatim, common law precedents accumulating without erasure. Parliamentary writs like supremacy and uniformity persist unamended. Obedience rationalizes as inherited duty. Systems forestalling anarchy through documented continuity alone. Bureaucracy operates detached from monarchs. Cecil's cipher archives, indexing 45 years of plots from Ridulfi to Essex, transfer intact. Signet office seals, routine proclamations, Tower depositions, cross-referenced for James's commissions. Clerks sustain petitions, flow governance, procedural beyond any queen's voice or frame. Economy cycles, predictably onward. Poor laws dispatch overseers parish by parish, workhouses converting vagrants to labour under 1598 rates. East India charters log perpetual voyages, spices balancing wool tariffs at £300,000 revenues. Monopolies, curbs, enforce self-regulating trade exhaustion, contained by rational self-interest, outlasting Tudor debits. Religion proceduralizes faith's inventory. Subscriptions log 10,000 parishes conformity under Whitgift's frame. Recusancy fines, £20,000 annually, fund beacon networks without pious return. Visitations file variances, eternally moderation's calculus, remembers burnings. Binding souls to state roles beyond Elizabeth's symbolic presence. Unseen labour warns against idleness void. Impressment musters navy at lieutenant's rolls. Guilds bind apprentices. Irish plantations filing tenant yields in Dublin. Vagrancy statutes convert chaos to grain output economies, spine endures. Collapse via neglected fields or idle galleys, averted only by customs chain. Fear perpetuates vigilance autonomously. Treason templates, from Babington affidavits to Essex attainders, guide high commissions. Informers' bonds extract oaths. Networks self-renewing across borders. Procedural trials log loyalty. Obedience rational as filed conformity, precluding warrants cascade. Intimacies, pillar virginities. Pledge across Philip II's envoys to Anjou's draft. Safeguards, lineage intact, averting Rose's fractures. No heirs, union splinters, factions. Genealogies defer to James via 1544 acts. Legitimacy, procedural, ambiguity, yielding crowns, union without strife. Spectacle immortalizes order visibly. Accession tilts, script eternal triumphs for successors. Portraits supplant one icon with another. Progresses acclamations archived in shire ledgers. Rituals bind subjects procedurally. Forgotten pageants inviting disloyalties, procedural dawn. James convenes Parliament 1604. Pillars converging, unyielding. Law oaths his reign. Economy tallies, transitions. Religion inventories, souls. Elizabeth's system outlives her obedience rationale. Collapse forestalled by ritual memory alone. Governance demands this. Procedure over will, continuity over chaos.